It's Mzz Kia Waters, and you're watching Elite ATL Live. And I'm going to introduce you to somebody who you need to know. And today, I have a very special guest. It is Andre Wanzo. Hi,
Hey,
Andre.
how are you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you on my show. Andre, let me tell you, if y'all don't know about the Wanzo Way, honey, you need to learn today. Andre, tell me about the Wanzo Way. What is the Wanzo Way?
Well, the Wanzo Way is figuring out strategy structure on how to be applicable to anything in life, right? Because a lot of people, they use the word blueprint to make that applicable to everybody in every situation. But if in fact you don't understand how things work, then you're going to struggle. So that's why strategy is important. So Wanzo Way actually helps you figure out those strategies based upon a category of work or whatever you're doing in the process and getting it through without any challenges.
I love that. Let me tell you something. Too many of us are walking around and not putting strategy into the things that we're doing. And not only has Wanzo coined the term the Wanzo way to make strategy a way of life and something that you can actually scale by, he has made it into something that you guys need to know exactly what it is in order to get on the Wanzo way. So we're going to go a step further and get to know Andre Wanzo today. Wanzo, where are you from?
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Really? What brought you to Atlanta? You're here in Atlanta now?
Yes, I am. And during the course of being in Cleveland, Ohio, I struggled with a lot of things. And one of the things I struggled with was financial literacy. I was doing a lot of things in Cleveland, Ohio, trying to get to the next level of the game because my background is really in technology. So I have over 35 different certifications in technology. I used to be an enterprise architect for a large major company. So I actually ended up moving to Atlanta and embarking upon a group of people to help me understand financial literacy, something I was struggling with in Cleveland, Ohio. And once I learned how to utilize credit and put it in a way that could help me put me in position to move along in the journey that I wanted to be on, then I was able to elevate to the next level of the game.
Were you surprised at how many people are walking around every day and are really in need of more financial literacy?
Absolutely. It's really actually very surprising, even at this point in time, due to the fact that, the word is really out right now. As we were coming up, that's one of the things we struggle with because it was never introduced to us in school. Actually, the word financial literacy, I didn't get it, exposed to it probably like into my late 30s, right? And then once I started learning what it really was, I was like, let me dive more into this. Because we always want to understand, like, what moves money? How do you get access to money? And the only way to really understand anything is to actually educate your mind. So I always tell people what you put in your mind is what you become. In order to defeat something, you got to know how it works. Right. So we can't get access to money if we don't know the ways to get access to money. And the fundamentals is the part that we miss the most because they don't teach us that in school.
And they should.
No, they don't want to teach us that. They want to teach us things like who discovered America, like Columbus. No, who discovered Chase?
Okay,
who discovered Big America? Who created these programs where you got these different products like, like loans and heat locks and lines of credit and a different version of credit cards and what those credit cards would potentially be used for based upon what you're doing. That's why strategy is so important.
Now, a lot of people are learning to be financially literate off of TikTok and Instagram Reels. How do you feel about that?
Well, you got to watch what you got to understand who you're watching and why you're watching them, right? It doesn't mean that those people are wrong, but you need to actually cross-reference anything that you learn to see if it matches up with other people that don't know each other. That's how you can figure out if you went in the right direction or not. But one of the biggest keys is to actually get you a mentor, someone that's actually very already solid in the business, that has been around pretty dominant people in the field that they're in, and that has testimonies and actual authority in the sector that they're dealing with.
And experience. Absolutely. I believe having a mentor, especially when it comes to something like finances, is critical to you getting your financial life and history and legacy. Let's talk about it together.
So, when you're dealing with the finances, you got to understand that, for example, let's talk about banks for example, right? People have to understand all banks have money, but all banks don't serve the same products. And what are the differences between banks, period? You got credit unions, right? Which is maybe for communities. In some cases, you got local credit unions, you got national credit unions. You get me?
Okay, I need a pen and a piece of paper. Drop them gems on me.
And then you got regional banks and you got national banks. So they all have what? Money.
Mm-hmm.
But why do we need so many different institutions if they all doing the same thing? Because they're not.
Uh-oh.
So and understand where to get where you're going and understand how to get what you need, you have to actually know where you need to go get it.
Absolutely.
So that's why I tell people to use, if you can actually utilize these 5 questions to help elevate you to the next level of game, it helps you get 50%, get you 50% there of where you're trying to go. That's who, what, when, where, and how. So you got to know who you're going to deal with, what you're going for, when you're going to go for it, why you're going for it, and how are you going to achieve the product that you're looking for.
I think most people trip up on the how they going to get there.
And that's why it's important to know who you want to go to first. Because anytime you're going for business funding, you should have an intent of what you want to do with the money. Because most people can get money and don't have anything to do with it. And most people can be unsuccessful and get denied because they went to the wrong institution or the wrong.
So if they went to the right institution, y'all might be getting approved if you went to the right institution, but you went to the wrong one. Oh my goodness. That's why they need a mentor. That's why they need to understand these strategies to success.
So for example, like you got banks that are friendly to real estate. You have banks that are friendly to automobile loans. You have banks that are friendly to just personal lending. Which one of those banks fall in line for what you're trying to do? If you're looking to open up a business dealing with real estate, then you need to figure out which one of these financial institutions fall in line to help you either do new construction, give equipment loans. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you go to a bank that they practice and they really strategize and focus on equipment loans, they don't focus on like real estate, then what are odds of you being successful?
Right.
But if you go to a bank that actually gives you real estate, they concentrate their contract.
Right.
That's their primary product. And what are odds of you being successful?
More successful. Wow. You are full of information, Wanzo. My goodness. Now, where you should be, let me tell you something. I'm blown away, first of all. And I'm mad I'm not writing this down, but guess what? I can rewind it. Let me tell you something. Andre Wanzo is putting me down. I hope that you guys are paying attention and writing this down. Now, Andre Wanzo, you are throwing an event on April the 4th. Okay, it's called Pathway to Success. Okay, you need to be there. Okay, tell me about Pathway to Success.
You guys need to tap in.
Y'all need to tap in, okay? Because he's dropping these gems right now. Can you imagine all the information you're going to get at the event? I hear you have some very special guests that are going to be there.
Absolutely. The Pathway to Success, I named it that for a reason because it's really based upon my past experiences. When I was telling you about Cleveland, Ohio, some of the things I struggled with and some of the things that I wanted to do better at but didn't know how to do better. Some people want to do better, but they don't know where to start. So the Pathway to Success gives you that initial starting point with understanding personal financing, business financing, personal and business funding.
Right.
In addition to how to scale your business, market your business, to protect your business legally, and how to actually get into position to automate your business. Okay, so you don't have to depend on the human resources as much. So we're going to have myself, which I'll show you how to get over $300,000 in business funding, less than 10 inquiries on your credit report, and how to invest that in real estate without putting your personal business name so you don't show any debt to ratio on your personal credit and can still get access to funding. These are one of the ways that multimillionaires get access to a lot of money because they actually have the opportunity to own real estate without showing a large amount of debt.
Debt to income ratio.
They still really have that.
Right.
And so those will be one of the major things we talk about at the Pathway to Success conference on April 4th. Also, we're going to have Chanel Monique there to show you how they really automate your business. The benefit to automation right now is that you don't have to depend on so many human resources, which actually takes a big effect on your bottom line because you have to pay everybody.
Yeah.
But if in fact you have a system that's put in place that runs 7x24 to answer your phone calls, respond to your DMs, says your calendar, you wake up and all that's already done.
Yeah, no, like automation.
Yeah, so Automation Bay, her name's Chanel Monique. She will be on the stage to show you, not just talk to you, but actually show you and demonstrate how that can actually benefit you and save you a lot of money. Automation saves companies anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 or more just by implementing the systems.
And that's a month.
Then we're going to have Joy Hunt, who's an attorney. She's a business attorney. She's going to talk to you about the benefits of how to actually legally protect your business so you won't lose anything that you actually work for. Because people always want to kind of sue you if you make the small mistake.
Get too big. Somebody gonna take you to you listen to Joy Hunt. That's why you gotta come.
So she's going to discuss the legal structures of how to put yourself in position so you will always be protected on multiple different levels. So you want to make sure you jump in the room just to see Joy Hunt for sure. Then we're going to have Marcus Barney. Hipsters Him 500, one of the most amazing guys I ever met. He's showing you how to market and scale your business using social media and some other tactics they have used to grow a business. I think he made over like $35 million before he was 35, from what I understand. And that was through the process and strategies that he used on the internet, right? Using different platforms like Facebook ads, IG, and additional other platforms to help him move in the right direction. And last but not least, we're going to have Herman Doss. Herman Doss is one of my mentors I used to have as well. Still my mentor to this day, I should say. He was a person that helped me understand how to position myself, to understand and digest information, how to make it applicable to move in the direction that I want to go in. So when it came to business funding, Herman Doss was the one that introduced me to it. And then I added my own spices to things, and then I elevated from there. So he'll be in the building to teach you and talk to you about how to build out a multi-million-dollar funding business on April 4th.
That is amazing. I am blown away. So much information, so many titans of industry in one room. What is your goal with the pathway to success? Is it to end financial literacy, or is it to help people start to learn to grow in that direction?
The door is open to beginners and experienced people because no matter how experienced you are, there's still room to learn.
That's true.
So the whole goal is to educate whoever wants to learn. You can come in a room and take away one thing that could change the outcome of what you're doing right now.
Absolutely.
And so I thought I put these particular people on the stage with me because I think that everything they do is applicable to anybody that's in business. Think about it. Legal, thinking about how to protect your business legally.
That's huge.
You got Joy Hunt, right? This is America. Everybody wants to sue somebody for something.
Right.
You just want to look at somebody wrong. They're like, oh, I'm going to sue you. Stuff like that. Then you have, I tell people, if you got the biggest diamond in the world and you want to sell it, who would know you have it? Nobody. If you don't learn how to market it. So that's why I brought Marcus Barney in, because he knows how to market and scale a business, right? So he understands the actual techniques that's used to get people's attention. And once you get their attention, you understand what they're looking for, you're able to give it to them and deliver it to them. So that's why he's going to be there. So my whole objective is to actually give people an understanding where to start and then how to elevate, protect, and fund their business, right? And then you're going to have, again, Chanel Monique to show you how to automate that, right? Because automation just came into effect.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and I was all over it.
Right. So we struggle with that, right? But if we get automation in place, human beings have to actually take vacations, use the bathroom, they get sick, things of that nature. Well, if you got automation in place, all that's eliminated, right? And it increases your bottom line 10x, right? And last but least, you have Herman Doss to help us understand if we want to grow out a funding business, we're going to get an in-depth conversation on how did he start, what products did he use, what service did he have, what were some of his downfalls, some of the major challenges, right? And how he overcame those challenges and where he's at today and what he's doing.
Now, how valuable would you say this information is to receive from these experienced people in the industry that are doing well and they're at the top of their game? How valuable would you say it is for someone that is an entrepreneur just starting their business?
I really couldn't put a price to it because it's priceless to me, just so to speak, right? Because knowledge is power. You guys need to understand, again, what you put in your mind is what you become. And once you got it, no one can take it away.
Absolutely.
I just ask people, I ask somebody, say, would you like for me to give you a fish or teach you how to fish? I ain't gonna lie. One girl said, just give me the fish.
Really?
You're gonna be a starving.
I know, right? You'll be hungry tomorrow.
So, but I like to teach people how to fish. And so the information is definitely valuable to people in many walks of life because, think about it. I'm just not talking about clothes. I'm talking about things that are applicable, skill sets that are applicable to every business, market, scaling,
Yeah.
automation, legal protection,
You need all those things.
funding.
Period. To be a successful business in the United States or anywhere, honestly, in 2026, you need all those things. And you need to be well versed in them.
Definitely. But, a lot of people have trouble with credit. That's one of the major problems, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to teach people how credit actually works and what money really is and how to utilize it and how to maintain it, right? Because if you got access to $100,000, you still need to act like you don't have access to $100,000 and utilize that $100,000 in a meaningful way to help you get another $100,000. Instead of going buying Louis bags and cars and jewelry and clothes and things of that nature, you can stand up on a whole nother level by being an example, by knowing that you know how to manage money. So one of the things that most people don't understand, that credit is nothing but a financial report card of how you manage money, your behavior. Banks are going to look at that. They look at your behavior, right? Because banks are not into the business of holding on to money. They're into the business of giving it out. They just want to trust who they're giving it to.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? A lot of people say they're prejudiced. They don't want to give me the money. No, it's not the case. The case is that you don't look trustworthy.
And you're going to show them how to change that?
Definitely, right? You have to understand, you have to understand what banks are looking for, right? I said earlier, in order to feed something, I know how it works, right? So when you're talking about credit, you need to be able to put yourself in position by knowing what needs to be on a credit report. You understand what an authorized user is, understand what a primary trade line is, understand how many accounts are required to be on a credit report, and understand that you need revolving credit in addition to installment loans. So if you don't understand what an installment is anything that doesn't change. It's like a mortgage, car note, no student loans. Those are always the same. Revolving credit is anything that moves, mainly like credit cards and lines of credit. Right, those things fluctuate. So they looking for underwriters looking for you to have a mixture of both to show you how to manage both, not just one or the other. And plus, that's part of the credit algorithm that you got to understand. It's 10%.
It's the algorithm.
Yeah, it's part of the algorithm. And so when you're looking at credit, you have to understand the 5 pieces of the pie. One is payment history, right? Payment history is 35% of your credit algorithm. Now, why is that that's the largest piece? Why is it the largest piece? Because if I don't pay you, you can't pay who?
Pay them back.
You can't pay whoever you need to pay.
Right.
And if you don't pay the person you need to pay, they can't pay the person they need to pay. So what happens is that it becomes a snowball effect. So that's why the payment history, which is 35% of the credit algorithm, is very important. It's the largest piece, right? How do you pay your bills on time, right? They want to make sure that the money continues to flow throughout the economy at a time that it should be synchronizing with other things. Make sense?
That makes sense. So it's not just you need to pay it on time, because most people are like, I was just a day late, I was just a week late, but you're not looking at the big picture. The big picture the banks are looking at. If you're a week late, then you threw everybody else in the world off.
All the way off. All the way off.
It's a big deal.
And so you have the payment history. In addition to that, you also have what you call utilization. Utilization is the ability to show that you really know how to manage money. So if you have access to 100,000, you use 95,000 of it, then you use 95% of what you already have. Banks always look at that because they look at you as a financial risk, that you haven't struggled with finances and you're not paying your bills down. So you want to make sure that your utilization is always below 30% is the minimum, right?
Yeah.
But 15 to 7% is always best, right? So they look at how you're managing the money that you have access to and if they should give you more money, because if you're having trouble with the current limits or the access to money that you have right now,
Right.
then why would I give you more money and put myself in a situation where you might file bankruptcy?
Makes perfect sense to me.
So those two pieces right there are 65% of the credit algorithm alone.
That's a big
Then
chunk.
you have what you call the length of history, right? The length is actually how long have you been performing these 2 tasks for a period of time,
Okay.
right? So people get confused when I say length and payment history. What's the difference?
Okay.
Payment history is that you paid on time.
Right.
The length is how long have you been doing it. Like Jack could have been doing it for 2 months. Jill been doing it for 2 years.
Right. And keeping the utilization under 30 and
Payment history on time.
payment history on time.
And and she has multiple different types of credit.
The mixture.
Revolving credit and actual installment.
Installments.
And that's 10%. So the other 10% is new credit. That's like you get an ability to get a new credit card, things of that nature, which I think is kind of crazy because when you apply for credit, you get an inquiry in your credit report. It's 3 points for every inquiry that you get.
Wow.
And people don't understand that. So if you got new credit, it still takes away 3 points off your credit report.
But how does that, okay, how many points brings down your credit score? Because a lot of people want to know that.
How many points bring down your credit
Yeah,
score?
like...
What can bring down your credit score?
Okay, yeah, let's go there. What can bring down your credit score?
So normally, like, if you have a late payments go right now, well, they used to be like 30 points, right? But then it skyrocketed up a little bit more now. Because we're going to understand, too, that you got two different credit systems, so to speak. You got FICO and you got Vantage. One has, like FICO I described to you, that has 5 pieces of a credit algorithm.
Okay.
And Vantage has 6.
Oh, okay.
So Vantage scores are normally a little higher than a FICO score.
Oh, okay.
Because it doesn't take into consideration as much utilization as a FICO do. Vantage is FICO is 30%, Vantage is 27%, so that other 3% is moved to somewhere else.
So what's the 6 on the Vantage?
The 6 on the Vantage is actually, what is that? It's the actual ability to, I'm drawing a blank here, but it's 6 parts to it, right?
They move it around a little different.
Yeah, it's 6 parts to it. I'm drawing a blank with that one, but it's definitely just one other piece that they consider to actually get you to know that you're maintaining your credit in the right way, so to speak.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, because I'm like picking your brain, you're full of information. The FICO, that's used by Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax?
All 3 credit bureaus.
All 3 credit bureaus, okay. And Vantage is used by who?
So let me make sure I can explain to you correctly. So you got the three major credit bureaus. You got Experian, you got Equifax, you got TransUnion. Okay? And you have to understand that when you're dealing with credit bureaus, they only retain information that's given to them. So people will understand how this actually works.
Right.
So when information is delivered to the credit bureaus, it's delivered from a creditor, which is called a data furnisher. So that data furnisher would be like a Macy's, Sears, whoever you're getting a product from, or credit card, or whatever type of credit, is coming from a data furnisher. That data furnisher gives the information to the credit bureaus, and then they report it. Okay. Now, who goes and retrieves that information if somebody that you're applying to get a product or a service from, like a car dealership, are able to look at what the data furnisher put on there.
On our report card.
On your report card.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, FICO has 8 different models. It has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I say 8 models? And it's 10. It's a couple models. It's 9 now, and then it's 10 and 10 and a half.
They got a half model?
Yeah.
Good night.
And unfortunately, that you don't know which one of these models that your creditor that you're applying for a product from or a service from is going to use. So if you're smart, you ask them.
Oh. Now, what difference will that make? Can we tell them to use another one?
No. What you do is you ask them before you apply, and then you look at your score before you go with the product.
So you don't get that inquiry.
No, you're still going to get an inquiry, but you want to make sure that that particular score they're going to pull lines up with, make sure that you will be approved.
Yeah. And they'll be worth the inquiry.
Yeah, with less APR, things of that nature, because it's always going to be APR, which is, the amount of interest you're going to pay.
Right, and depending on your score, sometimes it makes the APR either higher or lower, right?
Absolutely. Because the higher the score, the lower the APR, because you're more trustworthy.
Absolutely.
The lower the score, you're a little bit, they're going to say they got to take a risk, so they're going to increase the APR, which is annual percentage rate.
And at what point do they look at the Vantage score?
The Vantage score, again, that's going to be based upon who's ever pulling your credit, right? They can use the Vantage score, or they can actually use actual FICO score. Let me give you an example of the tool. There's a bank, I won't say it on here, right?
Okay.
There's a bank that was using a FICO score. Because a FICO score is a more challenging model than a Vantage score, most of the applicants that were using the FICO system, most of the applicants that they were using with the FICO system did not qualify. Okay, that's how important it is. So what they did was they switched over to a Vantage score. When they switched over to a Vantage score, the increase of applications being approved increased significantly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And that's something we can ask a creditor, like, hey, are you using the Vantage score?
You should always
FICO?
ask where you're retrieving your information from, what model you're using, because you can go in there confident, knowing that you have what it takes in order to get what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I remember one time we went to go get a car, and I asked them, I said, where are you guys pulling from? They said, TransUnion. And I was like, okay, hold on. So I went to the phone, I put up TransUnion. I was like, okay, I know exactly what the score was, like a 798. I said, listen, I know it's a car dealership. We're primary, meaning that we're first tier, we're not secondary. Secondary is like 600, things of that nature, right? I said, only pull this credit one time, right? If you pull it anything outside of that, then you're going to be held responsible.
Now, why would they pull it more than once? I never understand that.
Because they want to shop your deal around to other financial institutions. So what they'll do is they'll try to get the best rate, but they don't know the best rate until they shop it to other places.
Oh, I see.
And all those places are going to pull your actual credit. And that, remember, I told you that each inquiry is
Drops to about 3 points.
3 points. So if you get 7 inquiries, that's 21 points.
That's a lot. So you got to go in telling them, only pull my credit once.
Yeah, and you got to educate yourself, though. That's why, this is why you guys should come to the Pathway Teach Test on April 4th, because we're going to teach you how to actually go in and have these conversations with these bankers. You know, you got to have the actual language that they use and understand to help give you what you want, right? Because when you speak the same thing they're talking, when you understand what they're talking about and they understand what you're talking about, you all fall in line. But when you go in there and stutter and don't know what you're talking about, then they pretty much take advantage of you as well. Because even on April 4th, I'm going to show you how to get $300,000 with less than 10 inquiries on a credit report. You figure that if, in fact, most people that try to get that type of money, they have a tremendous amount of inquiries on their credit report. Each one of those credit cards would be $10,000 a piece or $15,000 a piece. You do the math on how much that's going to take in order to get you $300,000. But if I can show you how to do that with less than 10 inquiries on a credit report, maybe less than 5, right? Then is that beneficial to you?
That's beneficial to everybody.
Yeah. Because like one of the banks that I use, you can actually get 4 credit cards with 1 inquiry. If each credit card is $25,000 a piece, that's $100,000. And that's just on the personal side.
Okay.
And then if in fact you wanted to get business credit cards, they have a slew of business credit cards. Actually, they have 4, right? And each one of my business credit cards from this particular bank is over $40,000. And even if we just use to $40,000 as a number, if I got 4 of those cards, that's $160,000. So good, right? And you're only talking about 2 inquiries on your credit report.
Yeah, that's 2, and that's 8 cards.
That's 8 cards. But when you add them together, the 160 and the actual and the other 100 from the personal side, that's $260,000.
Yeah.
2 inquiries on a credit report.
That's amazing. Now, how many of y'all business owners out there can benefit from having $300,000 in personal and or business credit? Okay. If the answer is me, I can, you need to be at Pathway to Success on April 4th. This coming up is 2 Saturdays from now. So you make sure you get your ticket. I'm going to have all the information in the description, and you know this, man. You got to be there. I want to see you elevate. I want to see you be financial literate. I want to see your business excel, and I want you to have the keys to success, and the pathway to success is lined right here, the Wanzo Way with Andre Wanzo. You need to be there, okay? All right, because I wouldn't tell you nothing that you didn't need to know. You need to know this. Andre, thank you so much for putting this together. The Pathway to Success. You have so many people that can teach entrepreneurs, small business owners, and even just people, even if they don't have a business, on how to be literate in their finances. I think it's an amazing thing that you're doing, and it sounds like it comes from from you in your early years as a child. And do you feel like this is what you were put here to do?
I do, because I was one of the persons that wanted to do better, didn't know how to do better, and no one that took me under the wing to help me do better. So a lot of the things that I went through were challenges that I incurred during my own journey. So I know that this could be beneficial to so many people because some of the mistakes I made were giving you the ability to skip those mistakes and get right to, the good part of you getting in position to get what you need. But the way you do that is you have to educate your mind, and a lot of people don't understand that. Right. Understanding money as a whole is very important, and we have to understand how to get it. And once we get it, what to do with it.
Okay.
And once we figure out what to do with it, how to maintain it.
How to keep it.
Yeah. So we understand we have to, we got people that help out with taxes and things of that nature, tax strategies and things of that nature, so they can help you keep most of the money that you have access to once you actually get rolling.
Absolutely. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. The taxes. You have a business, they're going to tax you. So, yeah, you want to have tax professionals there as well at the conference?
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh, you guys.
There's going to be a slew of people in the building, right? I mean, you got to figure out you can get tax advantages off of real estate and other types of ways. And the only way to do that is to get around the right people. So you got to get in the right room. So April 4th, right here in Tucker, Georgia, she's going to put the information in her information below. That's what I can tell you right below, right? And make sure you tap in, don't tap out, right? Because the only way to achieve is to believe, and you have to get in a room to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put you around some amazing people that's going to actually give you all the information you need in multiple different directions to put you in the right position to make sure that you can grow. So April 4th, Pathway to Success.
Now I got a question for you, Wanzo. I have an LLC. Do you think an S Corp is beneficial for me? Because I feel like I need to grow into having a whole board members and all those things.
Well, that's a very interesting question. That's one of the things that people, most of the time, don't pay attention to.
Okay.
Most people actually pivot towards an LLC and something like an S Corp, but they don't ask themselves a major question. What are your intentions? They have 4 different tax entities that you can actually use for companies, right?
Right.
You have an S Corp. Well, actually, S Corp is a corporation, so let's say a corporation, right? You have an actual LLC. You have a LLP, right? You know what
limited partnership.
Limited liability partnership, right? And then you actually have the actual S Corp itself. Right. So yeah, corporation itself. I'm sorry.
Right.
So if you're trying to raise money, you can't do that with an LLC. You can't do that with an S Corp. You can only do that with a corporation.
A non-profit corporation.
A corporation.
Just a corporation.
A corporation gives you the ability to add stock. None of the others give you the ability to do that.
Okay, not even an S Corp.
No. Okay. Now, the corporation gives you the ability to add stock, but whenever you use a corporation, you're double taxed. You got corporation tax, you got income tax. You see what I'm saying?
I remember that.
So people have to understand the strategy of what they're doing and why they're doing it. They didn't make these other entities for nothing, but you automatically default to LLC. Now, who's to say that's for you?
Well, okay. Well, who is an LLC for?
It depends on what you're doing, right? So, if in fact, most people get LLCs for protection, right? It separates you from your personal assets from your business assets. But most people don't know, if you do something that violates the regulations of the law, they got what you call corporate piercing. You can pierce the corporate veil, meaning that you're not protected by LLC no more. So now I can go after your personal assets.
Right. I'm sure a lot of people are making some mistakes by using their personal bank as their business bank and buying it, all the things.
Right.
And yeah.
And so one of the things you want to do is be mindful of that. And when you talk about an S corp, you got to understand the benefits of an S corp. The benefits of an S corp is because it's a pass through. So say for example, if your business took a hit and it lost $20,000, well, when you go to pay your personal taxes, you can pass that debt down to your personal side. And if you actually made $100,000 on your personal side, then you can take that deduction from the loss on your business side and apply it to your personal side. Now you don't owe that $20,000 in person. I mean, that $20,000 is taken off for your tax bill from the personal side.
Okay, so that's not piercing the veil if you do it.
Piercing the veil is something that's done by an outside entity saying that you did something illegal.
Oh. Okay.
Like the IRS or something.
Okay. So with the S corp, you can kind of move that around between your personal and your business.
No, so you have structure, right? It's layers. So you have an S corp. When you have an S corp, when you're looking at taxes, you have your personal taxes down here, you have your business taxes up here. So what happens is that if the business up top takes a loss, you could take that loss and put it towards your personal.
Oh.
So say like if you was to get like you owed $120,000 in taxes.
Okay.
Right? And you had to pay that. Well, if you took the $20,000 from the loss on the corporate side and applied it, now you don't owe $120,000 in taxes. You only owe $100,000 in taxes. So any losses that you have on your business side is actually reduced on your personal side.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
So this is why, again, this is why strategy and structure is important. It's not a blueprint. It's strategy. Understand that everything you do has to be intentional, but you have to educate your mind on what you need in order to put yourself in position to be more successful and to keep the most bottom line as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all this has to add up. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And it really helped me out when you did this. I need pictures. Yeah. I need you to be able to. It made sense with the personal and the professional and the business.
Even with the
yeah, I mean, and it's just knowledge. It's what we need in order to get literate in these areas. You have to learn. People learn differently. You have to take the time out to actually learn how to become financial literate. So, I appreciate you taking the time to just to have this conversation with me today and my viewers. But in order to really get financial literate, I hope to see you guys on April the 4th. Okay, we already talked about that.
For sure. Last one was the LLP, right?
Mm-hmm.
LLP is limit liability partnership.
Right.
So most of the time, this is used by like medical professionals and lawyers, so to speak.
Right.
And
like firms.
Yeah, and the reason why is because if in fact we're in a medical group and one of the doctors were to do something that's malpractice,
mm-hmm.
if they was get sued, it doesn't affect the whole organization as a whole. It only affects that particular doctor and his part of the practice.
Right.
So that's how you kind of like, separate yourself from the rest and have a security to know that if in fact somebody does something wrong, it doesn't affect you directly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people choose LLC because they're not in a partnership. They don't have all the board members for a corporation. They figure it's one step up from sole proprietor, but they'll be having some liability coverage, and that's why a lot of people pivot towards it. But it's levels to this. It's reasons behind it, and those are the things that a lot of us still need to learn.
Absolutely. So make sure you guys tap in. Don't tap out. April 4th. Want to see you in the room.
You guys, wow. I mean, my finger wave's still on because, Wanzo, you blew my mind. I'm telling you, with all that information, guys, it's stuff that you need to know as a business owner. Just going online, getting an EIN and the LLC does not make you a business owner. I mean, I guess on paper it do. But when it comes down to you scaling your business, keeping your money, growing your money, or having money in your business, let's talk about it. You need to be in a position to make money and know how to make it and keep it. So you need to know the Wanzo Way. So you make sure you be there on April 4th at Pathway to Success. You need to have an understanding of financial literacy. I want to see everyone do great. I'm going to be there. I'm Mzz Kia Waters. You're going to be able to meet Andre Wanzo and so many other prolific titans in the financial literacy game and the business excelling game. And I want you guys to do that. So definitely be there. It's Mzz Kia Waters, and I'll see you next time.
Peace.